everyone. Today we got to play Monsters on Board. Now this is like right off the Kickstarter Express, right?
Yeah, it came in while we were in Origins.
Yeah, so this is published by Frontier Games, and so we're super excited to bring it to you. Now, Randy, can you tell us a little bit more about Monsters on Board?
Not yet, because they got to do something before we do that.
Oh, you got to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell because board games are awesome. And that's what we do here at Legends of Nirvana.
So Monsters on Board this is a Kickstarter deluxe version of it. It's a 2022 release, 1 to 4 player game, 45 to 60 minute average length. It says, I think ours took a little bit longer because it was first time play. Age 12 and up. Designed by Alexander Mikic, Ivo Neskovic, and Samuel Petruski. Art is by Mihajlo Dmitrievsky, published by Final Frontier Games. Now, when we backed this on Kickstarter, this is the monster set, which I thought was the all-in set. It didn't specifically come out and say it, so I guess it's, shame on me for assuming. Because after the Kickstarter ended, they added in plastic versions of these cars and an add-on game that was themed similarly that would kind of be a companion game to this.
So hopefully they'll offer that on their website.
It looks like they're going to, but it's just kind of frustrating that they added it in after the campaign. But this was $89 for this. Game Steward is selling this now, the same package, for $129.99. So it's a $40 markup from the Kickstarter, but if you're looking for this version. Now it's eventually going to show up on the Final Frontier Games website. I doubt this version will be ever hit retail, but they will have a retail version of it likely that'll be out in stores.
So let's jump into quality of components. You have custom screen dice with very vibrant colors, which make it very pretty to please. You have these beautiful miniatures, actually.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to see what somebody could do for the paint job on these. I think these are pretty fantastic. You do have these cars. Now, I will say, I like the little theme on the cars, but you mentioned you had problems putting them together.
Well, first of all, they didn't include any instructions on how to put them together.
So it's guesswork.
That was one of the many problems we'll get to when we get to the rules. But they also, this is the same company that released Merchant's Cove. When they produced the cardboard boats for it, they had a real bad problem with everywhere the folds of creases were designed, they peeled on them. I didn't have as bad of a problem with that on this, but I did still have that same problem. So they're not manufactured well.
But look how cool they look. Cool. These are so freaking cool. Honestly, I started out with the little coach.
Yeah, it looks like the Munsters mobile.
Yeah, the Munster, that's it. And I'm sorry, I just think it's awesome. But, and then you have screen printed tokens, you have some cardboard chits. Overall card quality isn't there.
Well, it has a linen finish.
Oh, it does have a linen finish.
Finish.
I guess okay on thickness.
Yeah, they're not bad.
And you're not shuffling heavy on this one. You're just shuffling at the beginning.
You have inlaid boards, although just partially inlaid. But they're pretty well done. Now, the little miniature figurine statues are top heavy, and they tend to fall over, even though they're sitting in an inlay. It doesn't really work that well.
I'm fine with it. But overall, I think they did a pretty good job. I know you were complaining about that, but visually, it's very appealing with the quality of components. So I'm actually going to probably rate this a 9. Where are you at?
I'm going to dock it a little bit because of the cars, the way that they fall. They're pretty flimsy. This one in particular is falling apart, but
we need the plastic ones.
Yes.
But I hope they're just as cool as these.
They're smaller, I think, but yes, they follow those designs. So
okay.
I'm probably about a 8.5. I think the nice textured inlay boards are really good, and they don't bow tremendously. They do have a little bit of bowing, but not bad. I like all the miniatures. There wasn't, nothing in the instructions about the miniatures, which we'll get to into the rules. So there's a few faults there, but it's mostly on the rules side. So, but yeah, I think the component quality itself is probably an 8.5.
All right, so let's talk about theme. So the theme is super cute. It's like this cutesy monster theme. And basically, you are, I don't know, control of the monsters, and you're trying to get them along your path, and also build up your thing over here. But overall, I mean, just the art is absolutely fantastic. It's very eye-catching. I know my mom was like, "Ooh, this is pretty. I want to learn this." And this is just a gorgeous game. Outright side the gate, it just looks fantastic. It draws you in. I just don't know much about the details.
Well, the creatures are trying to gather up the spook juice. Because that's the victory points. Why, I'm not sure.
They're going to cross over. That's why they're trying to get through.
They've got little Pac-Man ghosts that are in the graveyard. That's what they look like to me anyway. And they become spaces on your board. I thought that was pretty cool. Thematically, it's got the little cartoonish looking characters that look like maybe like right off your Count Chocula box. So these are pretty cool. I mean, I love. The colors are very, very vibrant for a monster game.
No, but it still works.
Yeah, it does.
It's great.
And they correspond with the dice, and everything matches really well. And I like the little pumpkin-themed dice, and the miniature pumpkin for the round marker is really cool. Would have been nice to have known that's what it was for in the instructions.
And it needs to be painted orange.
Yeah.
So, but overall, what would you give it a score for?
Thematically, I think this is where it shines. I think this is probably a 9 for me. I mean, the art is really fun on the cards, on the boards. The fact that I love Halloween-themed games. I'm probably a 9 to almost a 10 on this one. It's theme.
Yeah, I agree with you on the 9 because I think it's still kid-friendly, but it is spooky and it's a great thing. I almost wish we would have played this around Halloween.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, we probably will.
So definitely, hey, if this is on, you're thinking about Halloween games, this is definitely one you should check out. All right. So now let's move on to rule books. Now, this is where it seems you had some problems and some concerns.
The thing is, the rule book itself is actually...
Yeah. First thing, though, I have to say, no cheat sheet. And this desperately needed a cheat sheet just for the iconography on the dice.
Yeah, the entire back of the book is all about the iconography, and it's what you need these because it corresponds with all of the icon pictures. You definitely needed a cheat sheet. There were no cheat sheets. That was one of the biggest flaws in the game. Yes,
because honestly, trying to pass that around between everybody and being like, what is that? And I know you were annoyed because I kept asking, what was the triangle again? And I get it. I was frustrated having to ask so many times. And it wasn't just me. It was Dad. It was all of us trying to figure out what those symbols were. And that was annoying. So anyway, you can go back to your rule book reading.
But the rule book itself is actually pretty good, except for the fact that it's written for the retail version. So all of the trackers are just cylinders or circles or what have you. The markers didn't match them in the pieces, so all you had were these miniatures. So you get the miniature out, and it's like, okay, is this the first player token? Don't know, because it doesn't say it in here. What's the round marker? Well, we by deduction, we realize this must be the round or the first player token, and that the round marker. It helped that there was a pumpkin on the board. Nowhere in the rules would it match and show these pictures. And these being all the figures, we just had to do the math and figure out, okay, this is how many of them there are, correspond that to the count into the book. So it was very annoying. It took a while to just figure out what was supposed to be where, and because the rule book was for the retail version, not for this upgraded version.
Which is fine if they would have added a sheet or something.
Yeah, something to match them and tell you. But again, they skimped on the components to try to reduce shipping costs, because this was delivered during the whole COVID and the shipment, it was being manufactured during COVID, and the shipping what it is today. They were trying to cut costs, which is understandable, but they cut costs in some very weird ways. They cut costs by cutting out the instruction sheet on how to assemble those, or to...
Well, did they have them online or something?
They probably do, but they didn't send them out to people, or again, if they did, I don't check my emails constantly for projects that have already passed. Once I've backed it, I've paid for it, I'm done. I've got too many. I've got 100 something in flight. I can't be checking emails for every one of those, Kickstarters every day. But yeah, it was just that combined with the fact that the box was not large enough to hold the assembled cars and everything in it. and there was actually a video out there that my sister sent me saying how you could put it all in the box. But what they tried, she went and tried, and she couldn't get it to work, or you could put everything in the box that way. And it would involve taking away and throwing away the boxes for storing these and basically just dumping them in there.
Oh, but why would you do that?
It was just ludicrous that they would assemble it and put it into this box when the box is that thin, and you've got these cars once assembled that are, pretty large, taking up a good chunk of real estate. It's just very frustrating.
Those are just going to have to be hanging out somewhere.
Yeah, they're just going to be sitting outside, which is yet another thing taking up space on a shelf that you can't put.
Well, but then they're at least they look pretty. But then, what do you remember what game that was for, right?
You got to keep them together.
Yeah, what is that card for?
Yeah.
What are those cards for? Where is that? That could get pretty frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, now they did come with an expansion pack. We haven't tried the expansion pack yet, so we have to see what that adds to the game. But as far as the rules for this game, the book itself teaches you the game pretty easily and pretty well. If it weren't for the fact that the tokens and everything don't match, I will probably go ahead and I'll reluctantly give it a 7.5 because it does do a good job for teaching the game. But it has a lot of missing things that should have been there, and it's just very frustrating. This is not our first run into these kind of problems with Final Frontier. It might be my last run-in with these problems with Final Frontier.
They just create such pretty games.
They do. Coloma is wonderful. Coloma was amazing. And then we got Merchant's Cove. You can check out the video review for that one and see what our opinion was on that one. And not to mention all the problems with production that came with that one. And then this comes out, and they didn't, follow through with everything the way it was supposed to come out on this one, in my eyes, either. So
well, life happens. It sucks. So, but now let's go into gameplay. Is it all worth it in the end? You know what? I'll start by explaining the game. So essentially is that you're going to draft 4 dice out of the bag, wherever the bag is. The bag. So I'm going to take 4 dice, and then there's probably not 4 dice in here.
No, there's not, because they're all out. Right. We have gotten it set up at the end.
There you go. All right, and then I'm going to pass the bag, and he's going to draft 4 dice.
Well, I would if there were dice in there.
All right, you're just there's a placeholder, babe. All right, so then I'm going to put these in my car, and then I'm going to decide to pick one. So I have a roll of 6s, so I'm going to pick this 6 here. But it's not just that I'm picking the number on this. I also have to pay attention to the icons. Now, the icons can range for plus or minusing dice, so changing the value. You can also move up the pointy bushes, runestones.
I think they might be runestones, but let's confirm. Of course, that means I can find what they're actually called. Oh, be on the back. Summoning trackers. That's what they're called.
Yeah. All right, so I'm going to draft one of the dice. Now, it matters about what the icons are, and they range from plussing or minusing the value of a die or moving up the runes.
The summoning trackers.
The summoning trackers. It could be moving a random movement on the board, so a random movement of your people. It might also be moving these blockers. So these are pretty interesting in the fact that you just put them down on the board to block a space so that your people can avoid that space.
Yeah. So you have grunts, which are the colorful monsters, and then you have minions, which are the gray kind of impish creatures that will take up spaces on your board. And it's kind of Candyland-esque where you move to the next color of the...
That's available, yeah. And then the other thing is then you also have ones that will affect your pumpkin dice. Now, your pumpkin dice tells you how many dice are affected in that row when you go to trigger certain abilities, specifically victory points. And so that matters, and how many dice you're going to keep at the end of the game. So that is another action that you can take. So basically, I'm going to take the dice. I'm going to keep doing this. It's going to go around the table, and then he's going to draft, and it will go all the way around the table until I collect 4 dice. Okay? Now, then I'm going to move my pieces. I'm going to slide them down, and I'm going to walk. So I'm going to move the yellow forward, Move the yellow. I can't really in this particular
pink,
board.
But yeah.
Yeah, pink. Move the pink forward. Oh, now I'm moving the yellow to the next yellow space, to the yellow to the next yellow space. Then I'm going to place the dice on this track here.
Yeah, and along the way, there's spots will have icons on them, and you'll trigger the icons. So there is significance to the order in which you move, so you can choose what order to trigger your dice.
Yeah, so in this particular one, this is a plus and minus on the dice, so I could end up choosing one and moving it forward.
Which those plus or minuses will affect any die you choose, except for the one that you use to trigger.
Yes.
So you could flip one of them that's currently being used to make it a different side, or you could use one of these down here. So you can't impact the pumpkin dice though.
Yeah. So that one's pretty. So then I'm going to go to place. Now I'm going to place one where I choose to make money, and the money is a little hand symbol. Oh, that's another thing. That's one of the icons is you can gain essentially buying power. So I'm going to say, well, you know what? I have a bunch of threes, so I'm going to use the 3. So I'm going to use the yellow 3 down here. Okay, so then that 3 means I get 2 money, so I'm going to move it off on the money track. Okay, so that's my placement of the dice after taking all the abilities on that dice. In this case, it's 2 pumpkins and a movement, so there you go. I maxed out on my pumpkins on this particular board, so I'm not going to do that. But then I'm going to move them down, and as I move them down, I'm going to take those actions, okay? Now, and most of this is kind of a movement, and as you move certain pieces, then you get certain awards, like you mentioned. That is the case for these, as well as movement on the board and blocking. Now, if you've already placed all of these, because they don't start on the board, they start here, you can just move them to another location that's already kind of, like, oh, okay, all my pieces are past that point, I can move this person. But yeah, it's actually a pretty straightforward game, but there is a lot of strategy on which drafting should I dice, what order should I use the dice in. So there's a lot that kind of changes.
Yeah. Now, what I do like on this is it is a simultaneous play for the most part.
Correct.
Except for once you actually do the buying, then it's turn order based, and you go around the table one
which
by
makes
one,
sense.
purchase
Yeah.
until everybody passes. Which, that makes a perfect sense, like you said. The only thing that I didn't like about this was there's these start of the game cards you get that are kind of in-game bonus cards, and they're based upon the dice distribution down here, which I thought was a cool concept, but it felt like these were totally unbalanced. And
really?
Yeah.
I got my 50, Andrew got his 50.
We all got, well, except for your dad, we all got our 50.
Okay, well
but
then how's
the problem is some of them are going to cost you points elsewhere to get your 50. Like mine, I had to set like specific values that I could reach that were not high values.
Well, mine was the same way.
Well, you got 36 points.
That's because I had to do
twice.
This. But no, I only got to trigger it once.
Well, you could have potentially triggered it twice.
But the thing is I had to get the same of a value. Now, we rolled that one round with all those 6s, so I was like, I guess I'm going to go for 6s.
Well, yeah, but
then this one had to be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so that was very specific.
I understand, but what I'm saying is you got to trigger all 6s, potentially twice. That's 72 points right there. Because you get to score based upon how many dice you got. So you have the potential of scoring 72 points right there. I had a specific value I had to reach of 21. Couldn't go over. Couldn't go under. Had to be specifically 21. And that means when I score it, I'm only getting 21 points twice, so 42 points. So immediately I'm losing a good chunk of that 50-point margin.
Well, then don't worry about fulfilling that card.
I'm just saying, then I'm sacrificing 50 points.
Well, then maybe you shouldn't.
I'm saying that they were not well balanced. Not to mention, your brother's card was way easier to complete than mine or like your dad's. Your dad's was a beast. Your dad's card was like a bunch of different formulas and equations he had to get based upon the distributions of where the dice were.
Maybe I didn't.
A brain burner.
I didn't see his per se.
Yeah.
I mean, like I didn't think mine was bad. Mine was hard. Like if I hadn't chose 6s, if I had chosen 3, like if I hadn't had the round where I got 3 6s, drafting 3 6s, I wouldn't have chose 6s, right?
Yeah.
So that one was just why are 6s keep coming? Well, I'll just keep taking all the 6s, like. Yeah. So,
but I think some of them gave you more potential to actually score points in your distribution of your board than other ones did. That was the problem I saw with it. I still like the concept of it. I thought it was a cool idea. And I like that the fact that there is a variety. They're not all the same. They're all very different.
Yeah.
It's just that, again, it's another balancing issue. And given the fact that your brother ran away with the score.
Yeah, that's just it. I don't even know what he did so different. Oh, he scored this top twice.
He scored all of them twice, and he also got 2 cards that he got to get a ton of points by having his people march all the way to the end, and then pulled him off, and it was worth 5 spot points for every space he stepped on.
Oh, well, I bet part of it is the blacks. The blacks move up these trackers, so by him focusing on the this grunt, he was able to move forward on this track, which allowed him to score multiple times.
So he got that, and he got, it was 5 points for each die that he had that matched the color. Yeah. So he not only did he get a ton of those dice, but he was able to get the cards to match them.
Well, it makes me think that maybe some of the grunts are not equal opportunity.
Well, I think that when you get to choose which one grunt to put on there. I mean, you could have put any of the grunts on it to trigger it. So in that case, it's equal opportunity because you could have put the red or the yellow or the green, any of them.
No, I'm talking about as far as which one I would rather move. I just moved what I can move,
right?
Not realizing that because I kind of focused a little bit on blue because the pumpkins. I thought, pumpkins, but then maxed out on pumpkins and didn't even use the last stuff.
Yeah, I started out with focusing on the pumpkins too because I was nervous about losing those dice. And then it turns out you didn't really need to because there were so many ways you were getting pumpkins based on just the dice.
Yeah, that one, I was like, so it's more of like, hey, the last round, maybe I should check out my pumpkins, right? Versus whatever. So, I mean, I do think, a couple playthroughs might help even this out. But I still had a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun. I like the fact that you're buying either these in-game bonus scoring cards, or you're buying ghosts, which you add spaces with icons to upgrade your board that you can walk on. I thought that was really clever. And the fact that if you've got a scorecard that you're not going to potentially get to use in the game, you can flip it over and trigger a one-time benefit of an icon as it's kind of a secondary prize. That can be really useful too if you got a card that turns out it's going to be useless for you. So all in all, I thought it was a really clever game. I think it was well designed as far as gameplay. I think it was poorly executed as far as the publishing of it. The design, the actual printing and the choices made as far as distributing it. It's just a shame because I think this is an excellently crafted design of a game.
But you did feel like that there was balancing issues on the
I do. Board. I don't think it was horrible. I mean, I don't think it's tapestry level. It's just I felt like some of the in-game bonus cards were more easy to achieve and also less damaging to your gameplay during the game.
I mean, in that case, just enter a draft, right? Pick 2, choose 1, let go of the other.
Yeah, I mean, you could do that. But again, it's altering the rules, which we don't try not to do here. So all in all, I still think this was a very fun game, and it's definitely something very fun to get out at Halloween. I think it's going to be a lot of fun to get out. We got so many good Halloween games. I mean, it's just great.
Well, now I just wish they would bring some Christmas games. But anyway, so but overall, give it a score.
I'm probably going to go ahead and give this an 8. I think it was a fun game, a lot of fun. I love the theme of this. I think the theme is my strongest focus of this game. I mean, the gameplay itself was fun. I thought the dice placement, the dice multi-use, everything was very clever. I wish the rulebook had incorporated the deluxe version better, and if they had included everything in it. I think it drags me down a little bit, even though I know that isn't gameplay. It affects gameplay because the fun factor was diminished a bit because I had to keep referencing every 2 seconds the same questions about what does this icon do? What does that icon do? Even though we had one person that could also see the book, another person that took pictures of it and could see the book.
I mean, and that was mostly me because I didn't have a picture and I couldn't see the book.
No, it wasn't mostly you. That was the problem.
I try to be sensitive, but I honestly sometimes I couldn't remember. There's so come on, They needed cheat sheets.
Yes, definitely needed cheat sheets.
Okay, that's honestly you didn't give us, what was the number?
I said 8.
Okay, so for me, the biggest holdup for this game, not having a cheat sheet. It was super annoying not to have what those icons are. And honestly, The dice are very intimidating without that.
They have lots of iconography.
Right. Without that cheat sheet, it is horribly intimidating. And trying to teach someone this game, not having any type of reference point, they're going to get, whoa, can I play this? I'm not sure. When in reality, all it is freaking Candyland on steroids. Okay? So, I mean, no, but really, I mean, there are obviously scoring mechanisms, but I'm just serious. Like, people would get overwhelmed, but not having these cheat sheets and saying, oh, look, the icon is like this thing. And they're like, oh, okay. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
For me, I was very intimidated when you said draft the dice. I'm like, what am I drafting? There's numbers, but what does that mean? I didn't even know what the number meant. I didn't know what the icons meant. That was very frustrating for me, and I can't imagine a new player facing that. But I do agree with you that it was a lot of fun, and I enjoyed playing it quite a bit. So I'm with you on an 8. I agree with an 8. So, is it worth it? Yes.
Yeah, with the caveat of, there's going to be either you're going to need to do some printing out of some cheat sheets that you make on your own, or photographing of it and referencing your phone, and the fact that you're going to probably get some frustration when you try to build these cars, or when you're going to, the other big bad thing was the score chart doesn't go up to anywhere close to what you're going to actually score in the game.
No. So Andrew, the second last round, was like, dude, he's like, I can't make any more points. Like, I can't, there's nothing left for me to do.
Yeah.
Did this just then not score very high during playthrough? Like, what happened there?
Yeah, because we were all, I was above 150. You were above 200, I think.
It was 190.
Caleb was above 400. And the score goes up to 99, and there's no 100, 200 markers in the game. So there's nothing to keep track other than I just started stacking ghosts on mine to indicate it was over 100.
Honestly, that was not a bad thought there. Well, I at first thought, oh, they must have you wanting to flip it. Then I flipped it and I was like, oh.
Nope, they're the same on both sides.
That would have been like a pretty good idea to put 100 on it,
Yeah, and I think the board was also designed with the retail version in mind, because the score trackers are bigger than the actual score.
It's still pretty. So
it's fine. Pretty, but it's like the board wasn't big enough to handle the score markers or the scoring values.
Because we were like, hey, that's half in the 80, half in the 90. Do you remember which one it is? Maybe, so that did get a little frustrating. But overall, 8. I still think it's pretty good. Yep. I still had a lot of fun. I don't need cheat sheets.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We had an absolute blast today, and hopefully you'll come hang out with us again. We'll catch you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.